Hey everybody, and welcome back again to the Z-Man Show. As Adam and I are here to continue on the great fight for Raised by Wolves, as we're talking episode 4 tonight, and that's called Nature's Course. And, again, this episode, they always bring back that action, usually right at the beginning, as we see Paul right back down in that pit. He's hanging on that tree limb down there, and he's trying to fight to find a way out, and in the midst of everything going on, while Mother's up top looking for him, he ends up losing Mouse. Mouse ends up falling down into the pit and is long gone. And only moments after that, Paul then starts to descend just as quickly down into the pit, almost to be killed, when Mother jumps in out of nowhere and manages to save him.
Meanwhile, when they finally get back to camp, they've got this creature that they managed to leave alive. That's in one of the grain sheds. And Father decides that these kids need to get better at surviving, and they're going to try and take out this creature. So after a lot of deliberation and Father consistently egging them, no, you're going to kill it. You need to learn to hunt to survive. Holly finally takes a stab at this thing, wounds it, and then lo and behold, gets a little bit scared, and all the kids run away. And Father's like, well, you're just going to make it suffer more by not killing it, but they're done. Have nothing, that don't want anything to do with it.
It was really hard. I mean, he was trying so hard to get that point across to them to finish it, but they just wanted nothing. And Campion was not making it easy either, was he?
He seems to value all life on a certain level, like really against the idea of having to eat the meat of these creatures. So I think probably more so than anyone else.
So while we have this going on too, then we have Tempest, who is of course pregnant, and she is not dealing with this pregnancy well at all. I mean, she can't help it. Every time she thinks about the baby, she thinks about her attacker. Mother tries to ease her suffering as much as she can, and at one point she starts to put the kids to sleep. And it's kind of like a Jedi mind trick. She's just like, sleepy time, and then off they go. And the reason she was doing this is because she was taking out the tracker devices within the children.
Right, and what's interesting about it is, when she first started doing it, you don't know what's going on. She's made this device out of metal that she's salvaged. And at this point, when I'm first watching it, I'm still thinking, his Mother, I'm not real sure about her. So when she starts going after Tempest, I'm like, oh my God, what is she doing? And then after a couple seconds, you see her kind of cut into her foot and take out this little tracker device. And then end up closing up the wound with her fingertip, which is really interesting.
Right. So not only is she able to mold like molten metal and not harm herself, but she has healative and restore powers as well. I mean, is there any limits to what the scriptures and what they built, the Mithraics built into Mother? And furthermore, which I think you mentioned, Adam, was this some kind of additive built in by Campion Sturgis, her creator?
Now that the trackers are out, takes them, discards them in a place outside of camp, and all of a sudden the Mithraics have their trail is completely gone.
Right. Mother finds a downed lander from the Ark, and she's able to access the virtual reality unit or whatever and go. And it's interesting how it says automatically, it's like, this is not made for Android interaction. She's like, yep, just let's do it, and she goes straight inside. But when she goes inside, it's like she's starting to have these visions. She's like, I don't know if she's accessing past memories, which they get into in a little bit, I think, in future episodes as well. But she gets this memory, Adam, of something that went down inside the small little orange hut.
Yeah, interestingly enough, so they came to the planet with 12 embryos, and he's sitting there, and all of a sudden, like, these embryos are gone, and she gets really mad at him, and there's a sequence of events where basically you have to piece together the information that, Campion says he'll fix it, and then his brother and sister talk about how actually they're the ones that did it, but they thought they were melting snowballs, so they didn't even know what they were. And then it gets to the point where she's Mother's talking to Campion about it. Why did you tell him what they were? And he doesn't really have an answer.
Right.
So it's this kind of a weird sequence where the embryos are gone, and you kind of know who did it, but you're wondering, how did this come to pass? Why did it happen this way?
It's a very convoluted and strange scene, right? But maybe we can find out more on that in a later episode. Father sees another vision / ghost / we don't even freaking know of Tally running through the settlement, and Father knows it's her. Well, I mean, excuse me, he knows it's Tally's voice. He can see the shape and form. I mean, he's almost for certain, but they can never catch up with Tally when she's making these entrances. Adam, what do you think about this?
The visions combined with the religion versus science kind of thing. I mean, it could really be a lot of things, and I think that the ambiguity adds to just the eerie setting of it. And I honestly, I have no idea what it is. No idea.
And I'm with you there too. And audience, if you think you have some thoughts on it, if you've been kind of keeping track, you're watching the show, or you're already done with the show, let us know what you think it might be. Is it Ghost? Is it part of this? Is it part of Soul and his big plan? And the atheists just don't really understand that Soul is really part of the world as well. The last thing that happened around encampment, so we have that wounded creature. I think it keeps yelling out throughout the night and so forth. Well, Tempest, a starved Tempest, mind you, because she needs to eat as long as with her baby inside of her, she goes out and decides to use the scalpel that Mother created, and she goes in and just finishes it off pretty savagely. And during all of this, as she comes back out, you kind of hear this blood-curdling scream, and I was just like, what the heck's going on now? And she realizes that the creature was pregnant.
And that's kind of where the episode ends, but it's this interesting thing that there's this survival versus morality kind of thing going on, and here she is, a mother who's starving to kill to eat, and she's realizing, oh my god, I killed another mother. And it's a very interesting moment.
It is. So meanwhile, we had some things going on with the Mithraics and the survivors. So they get on the move as Ambrose, the Imminence, is kind of leading them off, and they find this randomized structure in the middle of this desert area, another one of the landscapes they've shown us on Kepler 22b. And they think it's the way it's shaped and formed, whatever. They think it's some kind of temple or something created maybe even by Soul, or for Soul for that matter. And they decide to kind of hang out there for a while, I guess, to study it and move forward and see what to do.
Interestingly enough, the Mithraics, the true Mithraics, are all enthralled by this thing. But immediately, Marcus and Sue are kind of shouldn't we be going to get our kids? So there's this thing going on where most of the people want to know, well, what is this relic of Soul? And they're like, dude, let's just go get the kids. Yeah. So it creates this conflict between Marcus and Ambrose about what do we do next? And Ambrose at several points is kind of remember who's in charge.
This is right. And, it's really kind of sickening to see that these clerical peoples and the Soul followers really do neglect their kids, a lot. It's all about Soul, and anything else, feelings, and even needs, I'd almost say, are all secondary objectives.
They believe they serve a higher purpose, and that higher purpose is their primary mission, and everything else comes second. Yes. That is basically their religion.
You got it. And also, let's point out about this thing, this structure, it's warm to touch. So another reason why they're kind of certainly this must be the givings of Soul, especially since it's so damn cold out there, and it's the only thing pretty much keeping them warm at that point in time. Sue has a moment where she goes over to Ambrose to try and fix his hand, because she's played off the story that basically she was studying medicine and how to help people while she was in the simulation, and she's pretty much the only doctor that they, or even close to a doctor that they have. And Ambrose ends up kind of saying a hymn to her about Soul, and she's totally dumbfounded by it, and so much so that she gets caught up in it all, and she totally gives herself away when she says, is that something from the scriptures? And he just kind of looks at her, and he kind of says, yeah, only to find out that it's a simple hymn that was sung to the children when they were younger. Pretty much any Mithraic child knows this thing by heart, no problem. So she's busted.
Yeah, but she talks to Marcus, Caleb, aka Marcus, about it, and he kind of assures her, he's like, look, he needs a doctor, he needs a nurse, you're not going anywhere. And he's absolutely right. So in spite of the fact that her cover's blown, she also has a skill set that they need. So
totally,
she's good.
Yeah, she is good for most. But Marcus, maybe not so much, as he continues to push the bar and trying to go after these children, and definitely pushing that part of power. And Ambrose isn't having it. So one night he starts freaking out by some loud noise going off or whatever. And basically they find that one of the twin droids that I guess they help out Ambrose with all his needs, basically put something in his ear to set him off, and I guess it could ultimately kill him. I forget what the actual name of it was, but whatever it was no good. And it was kind of an intense scene because while this is all going on, Ambrose is yelling how he's lost his faith. Soul is punishing him. We have to kill him now. And it was kind of a coup, except that obviously Marcus is not in power, but Ambrose was trying to get rid of him. Adam, any thoughts on that?
It seems like that. They leave it ambiguous enough because technically it could have been the android that did it, but these androids that work for the clerics are usually pretty order driven.
Sure.
So it's pretty safe bet that Ambrose ordered it. And yeah, like when they find out it was one of his androids, Ambrose kind of backs off a little bit, but I think you're probably right. It was probably Ambrose that did it, but it kind of furthers the tension between him and between both Ambrose and Marcus.
Totally.
To the point where something interesting happens later that night when they're all sitting around the relic. They're cold, and Ambrose wants to blow up the relic to get inside and get the warmth so they can survive, and it leads to a pretty interesting dynamic between Marcus and Ambrose.
Yes. It was just wild. I mean, and you want to talk about timing and events, which this show really plays off a lot. A lot of just events that happen with timing and the signs and things that happen. And as Ambrose is freaking out and he's telling him blow the thing open or whatever, and the rest of our clerical people are like, no, we shouldn't do this. And then Marcus starts yelling at him like, see, he's losing his faith. And then as Ambrose is about to totally expose Caleb for who he is, because he knows that obviously from what Sue said that they're not who they say they are. He freaking catches on fire from this unit, this structure behind them. He just starts up in flames. And, Marcus and the timing, he plays right off of it. He's basically like, see, he lost his faith and now Soul is punishing him. He sounds like he's a prophet and like he's sermonizing to these people and they are just eating it up.
Right. Oh, God. It's like he's the next coming or something.
Yeah.
And, no, he even uses it as an excuse to kind of finish off Ambrose, as it were, using this now white hot relic that they found, and yeah, he uses it to propel himself into the main leadership position. He uses it to kind of get back on their mission of what Marcus and Sue want, which is to go get the kids. And so it's this interesting dynamic where suddenly he's getting what he wants and he's calling the shots.
Yeah, total power play, right?
Yeah.
So, episode 4, Nature's Course. Again, the show just continues to impress with a lot of the things, the questions it brings to us, leaving certain things ambiguous. Excuse me, can't talk, and just keeping us on the edge of kind of wondering what's going to happen next. And I'm loving it. Adam, you enjoying this still as much?
Yeah, quite a ride. Been very pleasantly surprised with the series all the way through. Wasn't sure what to expect. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Cool. So we'll make sure to keep bringing these out to you. I'm trying to get them out one every day, if not every other day, so we can kind of get done with the series and then move on to other things. Thank you guys for coming out. I hope you enjoyed the talks we're having on Raised by Wolves. We're going to continue to get these out. I'm going to try and get them out about one a day, if not maybe every other day, so we can kind of knock this series out and get ready for when season 2 comes about. And also, we have many other movies to tackle as we move through the years. So thanks again. This is the Z-Man Show. I am Mike and this is Adam, and we will catch you guys at the next review.
See you at episode 5.